everyone. Welcome to this week's Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Ronnie. Before we get started, of course, I need you to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. This week, we have a very special guest. We have a violinist, Asher. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with letting you take over and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name is Asher, and I am an electric violinist, composer, producer, live performer. I'm as you can see, a contemporary electric violinist, classically trained since the age of 2. That's my mom's fault. And I found my real passion in violin probably in high school when I switched to more of the electric violin. Made a transition from like classical Suzuki type of traditional learning and moved into improvisation and contemporary music, and that's where I'm really I feel like I'm able to shine and connect with fans in a meaningful way.
Okay. At what point and why did you move over from the traditional violin to an electric violin?
Well, I saw all the cool folks in the jazz band were having fun, and all the dopey people and like the orchestras were just like sitting there with the screen, with the sheet music in front of their face, and just like basically the equivalent of reading a book. And I kind of got a little irritated after about most of my life doing that. I just felt like I need a little bit of creativity. I don't just want to do things by rote and just follow and. I mean, essentially, the hierarchy there is like who reads the best and who has the best skills within the confines of reading. And I excelled at it. I did well because, again, I had the advantage of starting at a very young age. But it was a little bit soul crushing, and I felt like I really needed to put a smile on people's faces and as well as my own, and that's where I think started. So junior year in high school.
Okay. So, what genre of music do you play with the most? Because with a violin, it's very versatile. So what do you play with the most? What genre have you not played in that you would like to?
Well, that's a tough question. What genre have I not played in that I would like to? I've covered a lot of different genres. I'm a crossover classical violinist. I guess some of the other ethnic, like Asian type of genres, I haven't really explored a whole lot. There's this passion for the violin within Japan and Korea and China, and I haven't really delved into that. Although I've been booked by some clients from like Chinatown, But I'm enjoying, like South Asian music, and I love pop slash EDM slash electronic classical, which is what I'm mostly a producer of. If you check out my Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, those types of platforms, my original music. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer.
Okay. So I know that when we were getting ready to set up the interview and everything, you had a show yesterday. Tell me about it.
Oh yeah, so that was the Harvard Club, in Manhattan. Yeah, I mean, I was, it was one of those,
nice,
one of those like, it's one of those fancy events. Like not much to write home about. Just another fancy event.
Okay, so tell me about your latest project.
So I just released Ratan Lambian, which is a Bollywood single. It's a love song. Because when you're writing about Bollywood music, it's pretty much all love music. I mean, that's like the crux of Bollywood, that whole industry. A lot of passion, and I shot that music video, which was released a few days ago, out in Maui, Hawaii, where I did my pretty cool corporate event for a major pharmaceutical company and Novo Nordisk, and I was there for like 4 days, so I took a day to do some drone video shooting with some folks out there, Paul Aker Media. So I welcome your listeners to check that out. It's you can see like the beautiful scenery of Maui, and the forthcoming project being Lantis, which is my original single, probably to date one of one of the coolest songs I think I've ever written. One of the songs that I'm most enthusiastic about. I want to release it today. I'm in constant, perpetual negotiations with other artists because I'm really trying to give the song a push.
That was a good question.
I don't mean to ruin the question.
Fine. You're
Okay.
fine.
So
Go ahead.
I jumped into the punch. Yeah. I can't. I mean, it doesn't make sense to divulge the names, but a couple of them are really big artists, but they're kind of, what's the word? They're kind of wavering between being really easy to work with and like more demanding, like having certain requirements. So it's so I've like one of the guys I negotiate with, I'm like, I really want you on the project, but I think maybe I'll just release the song and I'll try another song with you after this, because it's when you're dealing with singles, like people want a certain percentage of the royalties if they view themselves as like, okay, well, I played with like Michael Jackson, maybe I think that like I should have 100% of the royalties, even though you wrote the song, kind of thing, so it's hard to, either way, this song's gonna be heard. It's gonna be heard soon. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad because I'm a big fan of violins. I like to, especially in R&B music. Like even with one of my favorite artists is Mary J. Blige. I have always equated her voice to a violin. It sounds like a violin to me. So, it don't to you?
Yeah, I mean, she's got a beautiful voice.
I mean, some of the notes that she hits sounds like a violin to me. I think that I know other genres, but I think like since Ray Charles and what was the name of the song, Georgia?
Oh.
I think since then, a lot of violins have crossed over into R&B and to even to hip hop in some areas. So I think the violin is very dope. Now, what do you think about the violin?
Well,
your mom made you start it too.
What's that?
Other than your mom made you start it too.
Yeah, it's my mom's fault. Man, she was intense. But just because you mentioned hip hop and rap, it's interesting. I don't know if it's just what I'm seeing, the focus online, but it seems like the greatest passion, at least publicly, from the other artists that I've seen for the violin is within the context of hip hop and R&B, which is really interesting. I mean, because culturally, like, I mean, at events, I find that my Bollywood clients are like the most enthusiastic. Israeli, Italian, like they like the stuff, but I don't know, something about like hip hop and R&B. They just like they love the groove.
I love it.
So I released a single with Insane Beats. It's also on my Spotify, iTunes. You could check it out. It's like a low key chill. Free Fall is the name of the song. Original single. That's like a hip hop single, and I haven't really done a hip hop single since then. So maybe now that I'm speaking with you, I'll work on that next.
All right.
But yeah, I love. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, just because I'm blabbing away here. I play acoustic. I play acoustic violin, but this is an electric. And the reason why I do this is because I play with tracks. I play on loud stages with other bands, DJs, and I find that I'm actually, as of this past year, I finally figured out how to, with enough tweaking of the EQ and like my preamps, I'm able to make it sound like an authentic violin tone without the risk of feedback, which is what you get from a wooden body. So that makes me kind of really excited about just playing this more than ever. And also, like, I can make it sound like an electric guitar, so it has a lot of versatility. So that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Okay. So, have you ever rocked out with a rock band with your violin?
Yeah, I mean, in Baltimore, I was with, I was rocking out pretty hard. I mean, whenever I do like a large concert, which is like, it's like a number of times a year. I'm not doing like, I'm not like a full touring musician where I'm like playing every night major concerts. But when I do, it's like 6,000 people, 3,000 people. You better bet I'm rocking out. I got to get the crowd going, and that's what I like to do, and go wireless and then go into the crowd.
So tell me this, and this is going to sound crazy, but I went to a show with a legendary group, and they were an older group, and they still had groupies. Do violinists have groupies?
Um, well, if you're looking at guys like David Garrett and Lindsey Sterling, they definitely have groupies. I don't think I have the number of groupies they do. I got a few here and there. There's
so,
always
so
there's
groupies
people.
are just a part of the entertainment industry. Then it
Oh,
doesn't matter what type of instrument you play, what you sing, what genre are you in. You're gonna have some groupies in this industry.
yeah, I guess within the concerts, I mean, you could play like the triangle and you could have groupies.
So tell me, what is the most important thing to you with playing the violin? Say, for instance, if you was teaching somebody, what is the number one most expected thing? Like how they talk about boy R&B groups have a playbook. What is the playbook for the violinist?
I'll tell you, Asher's playbook is numero uno, proper positioning. Because if you don't have proper positioning, your back will end up twisted, and you'll end up losing your career like I did. Um, 5, 6 years ago, I just got back into it. I started in 2001, played like straight through to, for like, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And then I lost it for like 4 or 5 years. And then I regained my strength. So yeah, if that's something I could relate to your listeners, anybody who's like interested in picking up an instrument like the violin or the cello, viola, like an aspiring classical or pop string musician, you better make sure that you have a strong back or proper positioning.
Okay. So do you
Like
play sitting or standing?
What's that?
Do you play sitting or standing?
Usually standing these days. If I'm playing like with a string section, I'm typically sitting. If I'm going live on Facebook, which I will be doing at 9:15, I will probably be sitting.
Okay. So tell me, do you think that your career enhanced or evolved? And I know that when COVID hit, because everybody had to get creative during COVID, and then once COVID was over, it seemed like people really didn't know what to do. So, what for real? So, what's your take on that?
So a lot of things were flying through my head. It's a really good question. First of all, a lot of my peers, people were stressed out of their mind. I was stressed. Needless to say, just everybody. And the whole music industry went kaput. People were losing their jobs. And people who were signed up for tours, like full-fledged, like summer tours. Friends of mine, it was canceled year one of COVID. The following year, someone got 3 years in a row canceled, which is like mind blowing. Like, how devastating could that possibly be?
Yeah, because you know that like COVID happened, everybody was revamping, and then they thought that once the vaccination came out, that they could start back booking. And I was like talking to one of the people who was booking international shows, and she was like, "Nah, we just got a list this morning of everything that was canceled." So they were sending out emails with lists of shows that was canceled because they didn't know what was going on with COVID. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but it's like people reinvented, they started writing, they started doing all these things, and they thought that it was ready to go, and then it was like your cake wasn't done in the middle.
Yeah, I started really hustling, and I saw a lot of people around me hustling because it was just stressful. It's like, for me, I have 3 degrees, 3 university degrees. I got a bunch of bio degrees. I have a nursing degree. I was telling my wife maybe I should go into nursing because I did all but the
Five.
yeah, and she was like, absolutely not. You're gonna stick with it, with music, and just don't run 2 races, run 1 race. This will blow over. And I mean, I trust her. She's got a good head on her shoulders, so I did. And again, it was incredibly stressful. I think hindsight, like in a few years from now, I will have agreed with her decision. and with her support of my continuing the music in music, and just to keep pumping out the music. I want to keep pumping out the the singles, connecting with fans. Even though like income dropped big time, I was still working, but like much less work. I was doing some remote stuff. But yeah, it obviously wasn't what it was prior to COVID. It's starting to swing back now.
Okay. So, with you being an artist, and this is just your thoughts, what do you think is a fair price for streaming for an artist?
Not what Spotify has it at.
You only get like $1 per thousand streams. Realistically, with everything that an artist put into making a composition, what do you really think is a fair price for streaming? Because you know you're getting robbed.
I know I'm getting robbed, and I actually just had an interview this morning where I pretty much like I was like chewing off the guy's ear about how big he wasn't. He was agreeing with me, but I was just like fuming about Spotify because I'm going to tell you the same story I told him, because what I said this morning was every interview I'm going to do, which is a whole heck of a lot of them, I'm going to tell every single last one of them what I heard from an inside source within Spotify. You ready?
I'm ready.
You probably already know this. He quit. He quit over this. This guy, he owns a DJ company, two radio stations, and he moved to Pandora. I asked him why. He said because he got frustrated with the games in the algorithm, or the lack of progress with the algorithm, the lack of altruism. What do you mean? Well, the major labels own 40% stake of Spotify. Spotify is the main game in town. They're the main player. They're not the only one, but the main one in terms of like concerts, festivals, so on and so forth. When it comes to playlists, the major playlists like Topsify, so on and so forth, we've all heard of them. They're owned by the major labels. You're not getting on those playlists unless you're signed to a major label and they're getting a big fat piece of your pie. So he said,
in most instances, it's a pathway, but you have to really know your business to maneuver the cracks.
Yeah. But it's like more than connections. It's also like kind of selling your soul to certain people who are going to make sure that you fly high. And I'm sure that there's like in between opportunities. Like if you're touring, you're going to get, you're going to get boosted by Spotify as well. Like there are other things that like I've noticed, like when I do some major concerts, my Spotify streams, they tend to rise. But all in all, I find it frustrating that I'm just going to say certain artists that I don't feel have much talent or much to benefit society, or at least much to like look up to, or to like just to serve society, or like just like kids that listen to artists that they're passionate about music. I don't feel like those are the representation of like what
they're not value.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like values, but it's like at least quality music. And I feel like they don't really deserve to be where they are, and I find it frustrating. And based on what this guy told me, and actually I know a couple other people in Spotify, but this guy one in particular, he said he left because when the Spotify team tried to change the algorithm to benefit everybody across the board, make it improve the equity, I guess, equation. The major labels, which there are the three, they threatened to pull their catalogs. So
there was a lot of independent, unknown artists, and they didn't want the value to go down for Spotify.
Yeah. So Spotify doesn't have...
They need to be ashamed. People work too hard.
I want people to know this, and I feel like it's important that they know it. And,
artists to come on to talk about Spotify and how they feel that Spotify is not for the smaller artists. It was only for the bigger artists. And it's like the smaller artists go in, they claim they pay, they send their music in, they submit it out to playlists and everything, and some of them never get anything out of it.
I've heard such talented musicians and beautiful tunes that they don't see the light of day. And I don't know what Spotify has against classical music also. I'm not even talking about myself, but like classical artists. Like you see guys like major art. I bring up David Garrett because he's probably the epitome of like a crossover classical pop artist. He's like the Itzhak Perlman. I'm sure you've heard of him. Of today, he's young, hip. He's based in Europe, and he's got millions of fans. And I'm just surprised that like, he's got like millions of streams on Spotify. But considering how many concert halls he fills out, he should be where Drake is, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thank you for coming. I want you to tell everybody your social media handle, the name of your latest project, your newest single that's coming up, about the video, where they can find your video, your YouTube channel, everything about Asher.
Oh, wow. Let's see if I can try to pull that all together. You can check me out at asherlab.com, ASHERLAUB, and you can check out my latest single on that front page and all my other social media links. You'll see on the right. They'll send you out to Asher Official Music, which is my YouTube channel. You just search Asher Lob, and even within YouTube, and you'll check out all my music there.
I'm gonna link your channel to the video.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah. And it also linked you out to Spotify. Spotify, like they don't have like a URL like where you can customize it to like Asher Lob. It's like gibberish letters, so you just click. You can just search my name on Spotify. It'll pop up, or you can just click the link on asherlab.com. Instagram.com/asherlab, ASHERLAUB. Twitter, and I don't know if everybody checks out Twitter, same thing. TikTok, asherlab.
Okay. You can catch us on all podcasting platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook video, and Spotify for video podcasts. Bye.